Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Attention, if you are a frustrated man who feels like he is not getting the results he wants in his life, health, wealth, relationships, and personal growth, then I've got a powerful free video training for you to help you become a strong, grounded man so you can unlock unlimited power in your life, business, and relationships. Go to kfmconfidence.com to get instant access to this training. Again, that's kfmconfidence.com. If you want a Cliff Notes version of the best material that I've learned after 300 interviews on this podcast about being a stronger, more powerful man, then it's all here at kfmconfidence.com. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with David Essel. He's the author of 9 books. His latest book caught my attention. Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, but This Book Will. The Myth of Positive Thinking and the Reality of Success. It got my attention, and that's why we have David here on the show today. Welcome aboard, David.
Andrew, I'm really excited. You know, the book has been just shattering records. We became a #1 bestseller about 30 days ago. It's waking a lot of people up. So I'm so fired up to share all of this with you.
All right, let's see what you got. We'll put you to the test here. We got an audience here who reads a ton of books, and some of them are positive thinking books. So you will be in the hot seat on this episode here. Let's start off before we dive into the book, or maybe this puts it together a little bit, but we start off every show with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying that the guest has lived by. So what do you got for us, and what does that mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Probably the most important thing would be every action into the uncomfortable guarantees our success in life.
Every action towards the uncomfortable.
Yeah, or into the uncomfortable.
The uncomfortable. Well, let's get some examples.
Yeah, well, I look at one of the examples I gave in my book was for 20 years, I was an alcoholic and a cocaine addict. Doing the work, Andrew, that I'm doing right now. I was highly functioning. And yet every day, because back then I was a big positive thinker and I was teaching all of my followers and fans the power of positive thinking, I would wake up every day and I had the same affirmation. I am a child of God, healthy, happy, and sober today. And at 8:00 that night, I was drinking again. And I did that for 20 years. So that affirmation actually helped keep me in denial because I'm saying positive stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I had this major crash and this unbelievable experience in 1996 that woke me up to realize that unless I do action steps that are uncomfortable, I'm never getting sober. I'm never getting clean. And we can do that same thing, Andrew, and talk about someone who wants a lot of money, a great relationship, a great body. Your thinking is so limited. The power of thought is so limited in bringing us the results we want. I'm proving truth. I'm a proven truth right here that I could think positively for 20 years, write books, lecture around the world, help people change their life, and I'm a freaking alcoholic drug addict.
That's got to be very tough because you're functioning. You're actually doing things that people want to be doing, but you also have this little thing you do at night, this little crutch. And do people know about this? Is this a part of what you share, or is this the dark secret in your life at the time?
What a great question. This was my secret side, my dark side, my shadow side. There was one person in the world that knew part of the truth, and that was my brother. Besides him, no one knew because I was an isolated alcoholic addict. I would do so much. I had to do things in hiding. For God's sake, I'm traveling the world speaking as a motivational speaker. For 25 years, I've hosted a nationally syndicated radio talk show. While I'm doing all this stuff, Andrew, the minute 8:00 comes, from an alcohol perspective, I'm gone. And then what I was a binge cocaine user. And what that means for people unfamiliar is that I would wait 2 months, at the most 3. And then I would take 2 or 3 days and I would get a very large supply and I'd disappear from the world. So, all of this had to come crashing down at some point. Thank God it did in the way it did. But there are many people that use the thought of a powerful affirmation or visualization or vision boards and they think they're going to change their life, but it's not gonna.
What's wrong with doing this? Okay, I'm doing the vision board, I'm doing affirmations, thinking positive, even though things are going wrong in my life. Is there anything wrong with this? Or is it just not enough? Should they just be doing more?
Yeah, that's wonderfully put. There is nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, in the book, I talk about that the first hour of every day, I still am 100% ensconced in motivational thinking, affirmations, writing out my visions, prayer, gratitude. 1 hour of every day, which is what I was doing back when I was struggling. So there's nothing wrong and there's everything right. But above and beyond that, it's not going to change unless there's a miracle. Now, we always hold that out, saying that some people say, well, then, how could my mother's cancer disappear overnight? We were praying and thinking positively. And we say that's a miracle because look at the number of people that have cancer that die when they have all kinds of people praying and thinking positively, right? So we hold that hope for a miracle, but we have to realize that we've been given a bill of goods, basically. The Law of Attraction, The Secret, and all these other books out there, well-meaning, well-written, lots of fun to read. But if we look at the simplicity of their teachings, it's kind of like what you think about, you bring about. And I mean, that's just not true. It sounds cute, but whatever you believe you can achieve, totally false. Come on. If it was that easy, none of us would be struggling. If it was that easy, what you think about, you can bring about, Andrew, no one in this world would be struggling today if it really worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And now going into the reactions that you get when you bring this out, how do most people respond to this?
Well, it really is interesting. And I don't even know when I say this, I don't mean to sound judgmental, but when we came out with the book, and this was not supposed to be the book I was going to write. I was writing a book on codependency, and I woke up last August, a year ago. I had 30 days to write the book, which sounds insane, but I have this great process of writing books. I woke up and I had this idea, Andrew, and the idea was, I need to write a different book. It needs to be on the myth of positive thinking. And I called my editor and I said, listen, I know I've got 30 days to write this book on codependency, but I really want to change directions. And this is what I'm thinking. And immediately, and she's a tough cookie. And I thought for sure she would shoot it down. She goes, David, oh my Lord, it's time. The people who are going to get it are going to get it and they're going to love it. People who aren't going to get it, they wouldn't get it for another 10 years. Don't worry, write it. But here's the cool thing, Andrew. The next day I woke up, I said, for 25 years, I've interviewed, the Wayne Dyers and Deepak Chopras and Susie Ormans and all these mega superstars. I'm going to go after 6 New York Times bestselling authors that I know. I'm going to pitch them to be a part of the book. Now, these are all really people that are incredibly successful in the mind, motivation, and I was taking a gamble. And I sent them this really brief email saying, I'm going to blow the lid off of positive thinking. I'm going to prove that it isn't what people say it is. And even though I'm a positive thinker and I know you are, I'd like to have you on board. Andrew, within 48 hours, all 6 New York Times bestselling authors responded back, thank God someone's telling the truth. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. What are people being told? And let's go into the truth.
Yeah. Well, what we said is that all this stuff that we hear about, that if you think a certain way, you can attract the right partner, or you can think a certain way and attract $1 million, or you think a certain way and attract a great body. All of that sounds so good, which is why people ate it up. And there are even books coming out today that say, manifest millions effortlessly and all this nonsense garbage. We want that, Andrew, because of something that we write about in the book called human nature. The definition of human nature, and this is basically, it's as close to being a part of our DNA as you could ever imagine. But the definition that we created in 1996 for human nature is our desire to get the most out of life with minimal effort. That's what we instant gratification. That's where most of us live. I mean, look, Suzanne Summers, great girl. Thigh Master, please, right? I mean, the Thigh Master is not going to change your body. And yet it still sells millions because of the illusion that if you buy this little clapper thing that you put between your thighs, you can have Suzanne Summers' legs. Well, that's not true. But we want that. We want the most out of life with minimal effort. So the industry has been created based on this whole concept of human psychology. Infomercials sell really well because they're promising us stuff that's unrealistic. Have you ever seen like the green tea pills and they'll say this?
Yeah, really big. Yeah.
Yeah. This incredible fat burner, right? Oh, my Lord. If you look at the studies, the amount of calories that a green tea pill can burn at rest is extremely tiny. So we know that there's a reality out there. But because of human nature, our desire to get the most out of life with minimal effort, books like The Secret and The Law of Attraction will sell like hotcakes because it's promising that we can have a lot without doing much. Not true.
Yeah, it's like we want, everyone wants that great life, but not everyone is going to be deserving of that great life.
Well, and Andrew, honestly, in the 6 New York Times bestselling authors that said yes, they wanted to be part of the book, and all these other people, I dedicated the book to the late Wayne Dyer because of the effect that he had on me in my career in 1990. It's mind-blowing, the effect he had on me in my career. But all these people were taking like little quotes of Wayne Dyer. And we're not really asking Wayne Dyer what was his life like. I mean, Wayne Dyer became outrageously successful in the world of personal growth by working his butt off. When his first book, Your Erroneous Zones, came out and it wasn't selling, he went into every bookstore all around Detroit and bought them with his own money off the shelves to get the momentum going. Now, people don't know that, but he didn't become a multi-million book seller by hanging out and visualizing his success. He worked really hard, like everyone else we've interviewed in the last 25 years.
Yeah. And it's kind of the story that you never heard.
Exactly.
It's a story you never heard.
So many people don't know, and some people do, that he struggled greatly with cocaine, that he struggled with alcohol.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah. You're familiar with Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, of course.
Deepak was a 2-pack-a-day smoker. The first time I interviewed him in 1990, 26 years ago, and he was telling me these stories about him being a medical doctor at this hospital in Boston and addicted to nicotine, I'm going, you've got to be kidding me. And how hard it was for him to quit smoking. I mean, these stories, Susie Orman, the great financial guru, when we had her on, and I think it was around 92, 93, and her first book came out. And she told me her story about how she had worked for years in the world of finances and was just scraping by. And then she made a ton of money in 12 months, so much so that she went on her first vacation in ever. And she came back. And her office manager had embezzled every penny, Andrew. Susie Orman came back to her office with a 0 bank account. And she didn't know what to do, and she went back into working really hard and the money wasn't coming in, working really hard. She went to a counselor that does the work that I do. And she said to the counselor, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And the counselor's words were, if you don't learn how to forgive your office manager, the energy that you have around resentment and anger is what's sapping you from being successful again today. And Susie Orman had to go on this huge process to forgive someone who had embezzled every penny. And when she really did that internal work, then the external world changed. But she had to work really hard to forgive that person.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's got to be just walking back home into something like that's got to be extremely tough. Now, coming back to the whole positive affirmations and what it really takes, what does it really take now? We focused on, there's a lot of hard work involved and things behind the scenes that we don't necessarily see of such successful people. You mentioned Wayne Dyer, one of the greats, of course. What else is on the table here?
if people want to truly change their life, Andrew, if they want to radically change their finances or their body or their love life or their career life or their spiritual path or get away from an addiction, whatever it might be, it's not just based on action steps. And this is what we go into heavily in the book. 20% of our success will be based on what we think. This is what we found from the 30 years of our work. So it's crucial, especially in the morning, it's crucial that we get up and we have a routine, a mental, emotional routine that's filled with affirmation, gratitude, writing about your desires, doing all that's important. But that's only 20%. The kicker, Andrew, is that 80% of our action steps should be based by moving into those areas we would rather not do. So it's not just being active on a daily basis. It's not just being busy.
Yeah.
If someone wants, like, I'll give you an example. We tell these examples in the book, but we teach this course on financial freedom. And there was a couple that came to me, this has to be maybe nine or 10 months ago now. And they're in their 40s. They've got children. They've never owned their own home. And yet they both do affirmations every day, and they both do their visualization, and they see themselves in this home that they own, and it's surrounded by palm trees, and they've got the whole thing down. Well, they've had the whole thing down for 12 years, and their life has never changed. But when they came in and did the hard work, which was recording every penny they spend for 30 days, and then putting themselves on a budget that we gave them and doing this stuff, and they weren't excited, Andrew, at first. I want to tell you this, and for your listeners, the things that we have to do that are going to change our life will not necessarily excite us. But 6 months after doing the work with this couple, they had saved 30 grand in 6 months. They bought their first home. Guess what? It is surrounded by palm trees. There's tons of foliage. It's what they've always wanted, but they did the work they didn't want to do to make that dream happen. That's the key.
Yeah. And when we move into those areas we would rather not, I think it's like, because if we keep doing what we always did, we're going to keep getting the same results. But if we try those new things and go into those new, dark, risky, unknown, uncertain areas, it really pushes you to go. Right now, I just moved out of my, I've been working this whole podcast for the last 3 years out of my home office. And I recently just got a new office on the beach here in San Diego. And I started hiring my first employees. And now there's like a whole nother set of challenges that are happening every single day with the team. And I'm moving into an area that I have been resisting. Mm-hmm. However, I am starting to see those benefits. I know that on the other end of this, having a team and being able to work with amazing, talented people is what's going to take Knowledge for Men to that next level, because I cannot just do it on my own.
Andrew, and what you're saying right now, going into that dark, scary place, your words, going into those dark, scary spaces, building a team. Yeah. That is it. And I want to be very clear here for your listeners. It's not action steps alone. It's the appropriate action steps that are scary, that are frightening, that are uncomfortable. That's how you know that you're going to be super successful. And you're familiar with the law of attraction.
Yes.
All right. So, in the book, we dismantle it in very loving ways because
dismantle it. Okay. Yeah, it's funny. Go ahead.
I want people to know that we're not saying positive thinking is a waste of time, but we're saying the way it's been presented to us is a waste of time.
Yeah.
So one of the big teachings, I'm going to talk about 2 law of attraction teachings, but one of them that many teachers have come to us with, many law of attraction teachers have come to us with, is that when you're on a path of success, if something doesn't feel right, it means you're doing something wrong. That if you're truly on a path of success and you're going in the right direction, it should feel good. Now, that is absolute bullcrap. If that was true, we would not ever have had one gold medalist in the Olympics. Michael Phelps has admitted he hates mornings and he's up at 4 a.m. to train because his coach Bowerman makes him train, not because he wants to be up at 4. And this is where we say, come on, this is insane teaching. Only do what feels right. I would never become a public speaker. Oh my gosh, I was horrendous 30 years ago. And I got criticized. I got criticized for the way I talked and the number of ums that I said and all this other kind of stuff. And it hurt my feelings. I had to learn that that's part of the process. Andrew, I have failed. As successful as I am, I have failed so darn much. My addictions, divorce, bankruptcy. Oh, my Lord. And within all of those, I am more powerful, stronger today than I was 30 years ago. It's not that I wanted those things, but that's part of success. There isn't a way, unless it's miracles. I don't know anyone. Michael Jordan, for God's sake, was cut from his high school basketball team, right?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Laney High School.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the best basketball player of all times. He was cut. Now, if he wanted to follow the law of attraction, he would never have done what he did to become the player he became. If he only did what felt good, Andrew, and this is one of the things we say in the book, we would never have a doctor in this world who had to go through internships and spend all that money and all those years of training. It's not fun for most of them. But they do it because the end result is worth it. Just like you growing your team, the end result will bring you to a place that Andrew could never get to on his own. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Even too for men, it's like I find that when we're going to move into something that's uncomfortable, it really helps our masculinity. Because when we walk away from what is uncomfortable, it's like we're playing safe.
Yes.
And the masculine wants to go into that risk. It really wants to try that new thing. It wants to be free. It wants to be alive. And when we suppress risk, when we suppress the unknown or we suppress the action we know we need to do, we are also suppressing our masculine.
Well, the masculine testosterone-driven energy says, challenge, let's go after it. Christopher Columbus is a pretty darn good example of someone that went after it. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, his life wasn't always easy. He had to go after it. So all of our listeners right now that have this desire to be a rock star with their body or their money or their love life or their career, if you're not where you want to be, then you've really got to take a look in the mirror and say, why am I shying away from being that warrior? Because all the people that we've interviewed in 25 years, Andrew, they're all warriors.
Yes.
They've all gone through hell and back if they're making a significant difference in the world. And that doesn't mean that they're well known. People can make a very significant difference and be known in their city, in their block, in their neighborhood, not just nationally. But anyone who's a mover and a shaker is rocking this world and doing things that are uncomfortable. But here's the cool news, because sometimes people go, oh my God, David Essel's talking about all this work again. But if we do it correctly, what eventually today is a challenge, down the road will just be who we are. It's like for me to be sober today is so freaking effortless. I can go to concerts, I can go to weddings, to funerals, I can go anywhere in the world, and I'm so comfortable in my own skin. But in the first year, I had to work really hard in order to be comfortable with David Essel sober. So it is work in the beginning, but then if you continue to repeat that which scares you, that makes you uncomfortable, it just becomes who you are, and you become a warrior. You become this incredible warrior.
Yeah. Do you know anyone, you said you've interviewed in the last 25 years, a lot of big major players in the whole space of success and personal achievement. Do you know anyone who's done something really great with their lives who played it safe every day?
Not a soul. Sorry it took me so long to answer. I don't know a soul that has ever played it safe to get to where they are. The only people that I know that have gotten big are those that have faced their own inner demons, that face their insecurities, their fears, their blocks, and eventually walk through them, Andrew. And the other thing I want to mention is that I don't know anyone that walked through them by themselves. Everyone that I've interviewed and talked to, they've always said a mentor, a coach, a consultant, a team, a mastermind group, they're a family. They had someone behind them that believed in them, that pushed them. I don't know anyone that's done anything huge on their own.
Yeah. So not only are people to do something great, you've got to actually step into that unknown and really face those demons and move into areas that you, like you said, we would rather not do, but they are not doing it alone either. They're not just alone in this dark field. They're actually in the field swinging with other people too.
Absolutely. I write a story in the book about a guy named Harv Eker.
Yeah, T. Harv Eker. Is that
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when his book first came out, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, probably eight years ago or something like that, it hit the New York Times bestseller list faster than any other personal growth book. And I don't know if he still has the record, but he had the record back then. So the minute his book came out, Andrew, I got him on my radio show. And during the show, I had read the book. And during the show, I said, Harv, I need to hire you as my coach. I need you as my business coach. And he would laugh it off. But I said it so many times, he finally, just to shut me up, said, okay, I'll do it one time. So we get off the phone and we set up the time and we're doing the session. And he said to me, what do you want? And I said, I want to double my income in 12 months. He said, what's your income? I told him. And he goes, wow, that's a huge jump. I said, yeah. I go, don't you think I could do it? He goes, well, I'm sure you can. He said, here's a question for you, David. Have you done everything possible in the last 12 months in order to double your income from a year ago before you and I are talking? I go, Harv, I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a coach. I'm a counselor. Yes, of course I have. And there was a silence. And he said, David Essel, you're in denial. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're in denial. He said, the correct answer is, Harv, no, I haven't done everything. I said, Harv, how do you know that? He said, because if you had done everything possible to double your income, you'd be sitting here today with your income already doubled, asking me to help you double it again. Isn't that interesting? He called me out, Andrew, and he said, you have not done everything. And so then I said, well, what do I need to do? He goes, who's your coach? I said, you. He goes, not after today. I can only do this one time. Who's your business coach? And I said, I haven't had one in 4 years. He goes, there's your mistake. You are not going to double that income on your own. You need a team. And that was 8 or 9 years ago, Andrew. That one session with Harv Eker educated me at a whole nother level of success and led us to accomplish all the goals we wanted to. And now my team from 8 years ago to today has quadrupled in size.
Wow. Yeah. And so those are some of the practical steps that, you can take to double your income is really building out that team. Was that something that you were comfortable with?
Not at all. And then he told me, I told him, well, how am I going to find a business coach? And I haven't had one in 5 or 6 years. I said, he goes to me, he goes, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a couple names, follow up. And I followed up on these names. And eventually I found the one. Her name is Marlene that I hired. That must be, 8 years ago now. She's been with me ever since, Andrew. And she is the one that has pushed me out of my comfort zone more often than not to continue to grow our business. And so, as smart as I am, and I like to think I'm pretty smart, as motivated, as disciplined, I could have never accomplished what we've done on my own. Never in 1,000 years.
Yeah. And I think that's something to really be said. Is like you went on and built something great. You've impacted thousands. Can I say millions?
Oh, easily.
Yeah, millions of lives. And you had to do something that you would, as you said, rather not do.
Yeah. I didn't want to spend the money on a business coach. And then once I got her, I didn't want to do all of the spending on marketing and advertising and writing more books. And oh my Lord, the path that she has asked me to follow has been very intense. But the end result is always worth it. And I learn. And I think that's key. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this is kind of a funny law of attraction concept. I mean, the first part of it isn't funny. The second part of it is. But, there's a guy named James Ray, if you know that name.
No, go ahead.
James was part of The Secret. He was a big part of The Secret, as a matter of fact. And, after The Secret came out and, he became very, very well known in that circle, he went out on his own and started leading these intense weekend workshops and did very, very well. And a couple of years ago, he did one in Santa Fe and he did a sweat lodge and 2 people died in the sweat lodge. And James went to prison and he got out. But the sad thing about, and this is again, the law of attraction, is that one of the leading teachers, and I'm not going to mention his name, it doesn't matter. One of the leading teachers of the law of attraction said that James Ray attracted those 2 deaths. And when you hear that, of course, the first response is, you're insane. But if you believe in the law of attraction, if you really think it's a law, it's not. It's a recommendation and a suggestion is all it is. There's no law to the law of attraction. But people that believe in it, believe it is. But I'm going to prove why it isn't in a minute. If you take things to the extreme, that whatever you think you can attract into your life, well, that's where this quote unquote master teacher of the law of attraction was coming to. He believes in the law of attraction so much that he said that James Ray must have thought this into his experience, that two people were going to die. And when you hear these things, it just blows your mind. But what I tell people is this. Normally, the law of attraction is only talked about by teachers and books from a positive perspective. If you surround yourself with millionaires, you're going to become a millionaire. Well, that's not true at all. You can surround yourself with bodybuilders and still have a crappy body if you're not willing to do the work. You can surround yourself with millionaires and still struggle financially if you're not willing to do the work. If the law of attraction was an absolute law, I was just on a radio show last night talking about this. I said, that means that if you have a fear of spiders, your house should be filled with spiders.
Right. Yeah. You would attract the spiders through the law of attraction.
You would have to. That's how ridiculous the law of attraction is. And like when people think they're going to attract $1 million or a home in Fiji or whatever, if it's a miracle, it could happen. But miracles aren't that common. And that's why we wrote the book. And the other thing I want to say, Andrew, tongue in cheek here, is one of the reasons I wrote the book too is that up until 1996, I used to teach this. I used to teach people that your thoughts become things and what you think about, you bring about, and all those cute sayings that are not true. But so when I put the book together, I said, man, I got to apologize to all the people, thousands upon thousands of people on my national radio show and my coaching clients and my workshops that up until 96, I taught this. And so now the book is actually an opportunity for me to come out and go, you know what? I was wrong. I'm sorry. We know what's true now, and let's share it.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the most common mistakes that people make when they pick up a book such as The Secret or The Law of Attraction?
Well, instead of just viewing it as entertainment and fun and let me learn what I can about affirmations, but let me not put value in them to the point that they're going to change my life, that's the biggest mistake, And here's the other thing, and we all face this, Andrew. When a book sells millions of copies, a lot of us just assume it's accurate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We just assume.
Yeah. There's credibility, massive credibility with that book.
And when someone's on Oprah, we assume they're accurate, correct?
Right.
But we've seen that Oprah's made mistakes and she's had people on that aren't telling the truth. So it's not too far of a stretch to say, wow, you know what's getting us in trouble in our society today is that we want instant gratification, which these books fill beautifully. And we also want to get things without putting much work into them. And the books fill that too. Again, I read those books. I think they're fun. I think there's a level of truth, let's say 20% of truth in there, that 20% of your success, going big success, will be based on your thinking. But, Dwayne Johnson didn't get that body by sitting and visualizing muscles, did he?
I hope not. So is it like a 20-80 rule here where 20% visualization, 80% taking action and moving into areas that you would rather not do?
Absolutely. If you want a formula for success, I think in the book, Andrew, I never really counted the stories, but I'm going to guess we have over 100 success stories. People saving relationships after affairs, getting off of alcohol and drugs. There's this young girl that I actually met this is wild. This young girl, she was a waitress in a restaurant. And I remember going in and she was kind of pudgy, really sweet, super nice, but, definitely not in any shape whatsoever. And she became a bikini competitor. So I used to go into this place for breakfast, I'd say 3 days a week. And this little girl was so fun and friendly, and we talked all the time. And then I stopped going. I started traveling a lot more. I bet I hadn't been in there in 4 years. I'm on Facebook, Andrew, and I see Tracy. And I go, God, that looks like Tracy, but she's like ripped on stage, right? And I'm looking for the name, and all of a sudden it says Tracy. I said, oh my God. And I emailed her. I said, Tracy, not from the restaurant, and she's giggled, sends me back this email. I said, I want you on a book. Like, it was that profound. I want you in the book. Her story in the book is so awesome, that she used to go out on weekends with friends and, and party and have fun. And then, people would bring cookies to work and she'd have a few cookies and blah, 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 the whole story. One day her husband said to her, you know what? You're really negative. You're really negative. You've become a very negative person. And she's really young. I don't know. Maybe she's 27. So this is several years ago, just married. And her husband's going, this isn't good. You're getting real negative. You're drinking more. Your body has changed. You're complaining all the time. And she decided that she was going to radically change everything. And it was hard as hell, she said. Getting up at 5 a.m., being in the gym at 5:30 when she's used to sleeping in and going to work just on time, stopping eating all the sugar, stopping drinking. But the wild thing is not only did that improve her self-image and confidence and being on stage and winning competitions, but it radically improved her marriage. That was one of the points. She said, I'll write for your book, but I want to make this a point, that it not only affected me, it affected me and my husband, which was the coolest thing in the world for her to say, Andrew.
Yeah. Yeah, that's life-changing.
It is.
It really is.
And not one step that she took was easy. It wasn't. As a matter of fact, I have seminars every couple of months and I bring in like someone that's written from the book. And I want to tell the story of Ray Higdon of the book about money in a minute. But, and I bring different people in and I called up Tracy. I said, hey, Tracy, I think it was last May. I said, hey, we're doing this seminar in May. I want you to come in and be a part of it. And here's something so adorable, Andrew. She goes, what's the date? And I told her and she goes, oh, you know what? The week after all my competitions, my husband and I have a pizza date on Wednesday nights, and I can't let him down.
Okay.
I can't be in your conference. Isn't that? I mean, her priority is her marriage.
Yeah.
Which I loved, I just loved. But going back, one of the guys in The Secret, Dr. Joe Vitale, I'm not sure if you've heard his name.
I've heard of him. Yeah. He's a legend.
Oh, he is amazing. And I interviewed Dr. Joe after The Secret. I interviewed him on a radio show and I said, on The Secret, it says that you went from homeless to millionaire. He goes, yeah. I said, and it said something, I don't know if this is accurate, but it said something about, you visualized checks coming in the mail and you affirmed and you became a millionaire. And I go, Joe, I got to ask you a question. I love all your books. He's written books on this prayer, Ho'oponopono, and a bunch of other stuff. I love all your stuff. But tell me the affirmation because I want checks coming in the mail and they're not coming. And he started laughing, Andrew. He goes, David, well, here's the full story. Yes, I was homeless. Yes, I became a millionaire. I was a millionaire before The Secret found me. And this is how I became a millionaire. I worked 7 days a week. 14 hours a day for years. End of story.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's not sexy at all.
No.
That's the truth. That's the secret behind the law of attraction is you actually have to do the work.
Yeah. The number of, and the reason we put over 100 stories in the book is because, we didn't want people to say, oh, David Essel's on this, platform, putting down The Secret and the law of attraction. I'm not. I love The Secret. I love the law of attraction for what they offer. I really do. And I use that stuff, of course. But it doesn't do what it promises. And so it's not like David Essel is against it. David Essel is saying, let's get the truth and let me get 100 other people. So you don't have to say David Essel is this or David Essel is that. Look at these 100 stories that have nothing to do with David Essel. These are people that have actually radically changed their life by doing what we have been teaching for 20 years now. It'll work for you if you follow their advice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard work. It's patience. It's sacrifice. Three things that just don't sound sexy at all and that we want to avoid at all costs.
Andrew, you just gave everyone the secret to success.
No. Yeah. All right. This is good. I want to take it a bit deeper now and go into the knowledge round, David. Just going to ask you a few more questions here. So, David, are you ready for the knowledge round?
I am ready for the knowledge round.
Woo! All right, David. Have you ever felt like you weren't the strong, grounded man that you know you're capable of becoming? Like there's something more inside of you, but you don't know how to get it out. Me too. Years ago, I was broke, sleeping on my brother's couch, and just got out of a serious breakup that left me on the floor for months. Now, I have a multiple six-figure business. I'm in the best shape of my life, have an abundant dating life, and live on the beach here in San Diego. I want you to break through too and create the life that you want. And because people kept asking me so many questions, I've created this free video training series on becoming a strong, grounded man so that you can have more freedom, love, and connection in your life. I'll also teach you how to build real backbone to boost your masculinity as a man so that you can have more respect, power, and confidence personally and professionally. Simply go to kfmconfidence.com to get this training. Again, that's kfmconfidence.com. Also, I share the number one conversation that your father never had with you about women. That will be a major wake-up call for 90% of you and will improve the quality of your relationships forever. Go to kfmconfidence.com to get this free training today. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. What advice would you give to someone who's feeling really lost or unsure of their purpose?
The very first thing is write down a list of what it is that you do when you feel in flow. In the past, it could be that when you were 10 years old and cutting grass, that you felt totally in flow, or when you were 25 years old and you were a bartender, or whatever it might be. If we're talking about life purpose, why I'm here career-wise, what is it that when you've done in the past that you felt really connected? If the answer is, oh my gosh, there's 3 things, write them down. Don't trust your brain. If you actually say, I've never been in flow before, I really don't know the answer to that question, then I would ask you to commit some time, money, and effort and working with a professional to help you get the answer. Because you know what, Andrew, one thing we do know for sure is that we have no idea how long we're here for. The other thing I believe for sure that we are here to make a difference, to have fun, and to work hard. So if you don't know why you're here, spend the time, effort, and money before you turn 60, 80, 100. Do the work now so that the rest of your life will feel fulfilling.
I love it. And what was holding you back personally, David, from becoming the man you are now today?
Well, I'll say one thing is my lack of confidence, believe it or not, that was surrounding my addictions. The weird thing, Andrew, is that I don't know where I could be today without the addictions. I don't know. Like, I do know that I went through 2 divorces, and alcohol, while alcohol wasn't the cause, alcohol does not help any relationship whatsoever. I limited myself by staying in. Instead of being out in the community, I was out in the community when I had to be, but I isolated myself for years to keep my addiction going. Now, on the flip side, because I went through this 20-year plus struggle with addictions, I can help people recover from addictions at the highest level. So the downside is we're not quite sure where David Essel could be if he'd still be married. That could have been something that maybe would have transpired, and I could have been in a healthy, happy relationship, but maybe my addictions blew it. On the flip side, because I went through it, Andrew, I totally understand people I work with.
Yeah. You've been able to find the gifts in the crises.
Absolutely.
I think that's a major thing for all of us to really take in. Not your specific challenge, but we all have our own challenges, and there's gifts inside of them. What would you say? This will be a great one for yourself here, as you are an author. You surround yourself with so many great minds. What would you say have been 3 of your most influential books, and why?
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's a great one. Any book, I guess The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. You asked this thing about purpose. That book, if someone doesn't know their purpose, Andrew, we should read that book. I think that book is outrageous. The second one I'd say is called The Prayer of Jabez. Bruce Wilkinson. Bruce Wilkinson is a minister. I'm a minister myself, and one of the many things, oh my Lord, I've worn, I don't think there's a hat I haven't worn. But I was a pastor of an all-faith church for a number of years. Then after that, I traveled around as a traveling minister, filling in for people that wanted time off. That book, The Prayer of Jabez, is extremely powerful and beautiful. So Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist, The Prayer of Jabez, I think is probably something that Bruce Wilkinson, that I'd ask everyone to read. Let me think the third one. Let me go really deep. Autobiography of a Yogi. Yogananda is the author. In our culture, we have a tendency at times to shy away from the Eastern philosophies that go really deep. And I think Yogananda, who actually his life ended in San Diego, he has self-realization centers in San Diego. He was someone that opened up my mind years and years and years ago to a path that I had never experienced: consciousness, awakening, enlightenment. And I learned so much from him through his book that it inspired me, and it still does today, to go deep into Eastern religion, to find ways to deal with setbacks, not just to overcome them, but to deal with them. And I think that's something the East offers us beautifully.
Yeah, I like that. Really good books there, and we'll have to take a look at some of those, add them to the Amazon wish list. And, it's such a big list. It's getting bigger and bigger. I interview so many people, but it's great. I love reading books. How many books would you say you read, in a year, or like how often do you read?
And that's a wonderful question. And it isn't consistent. I'll say that. And it really depends on my work schedule. I just picked up speaking of Eastern books, I just picked up a book on consciousness by a guy named Nandi, Nandi. And I'm reading that I'm going to finish at the end of August. I started it a week ago. The week before that, the month before that, I read another book by Bruce Wilkinson called The Dream Giver, which is another beautiful book. So I would say probably on average a book every other month, Andrew.
Got it. Okay. So you're big on taking action and really moving into those fears.
Yeah. Oh, my Lord. And not doing it alone. I think that's something really crucial. Do what scares the hell out of you, and don't feel you always have to do it alone.
Got it. And this one's more of a scenario here for you, David. Imagine you had 60 seconds with your 25-year-old self. If you can envision what he's up to, what he's doing personally, professionally, in his relationships, what would you tell 25-year-old David to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
Well, the very first thing I tell him to do is get help for his addictions, because they were well ensconced way before 25. So I would say number one is get clean, get sober. The life of sobriety is unbelievable. People that are creating greatness, more often than not, Andrew, they're not creating it behind the guise of addiction, quite frankly. While we have heard of people like Hemingway that were, from what we understand, intense addicts, that's very rare to reach that level that he did. And then we have to remember how he ended his life. So number one, I would tell my 25-year-old self to let go of all addictions. Number two, because I'm so freaking intense, Andrew, I'm 60. I'm as intense as hell. I would say to that 25-year-old, lighten up, dude.
Lighten up about what? Like success? Like trying to get everything so quickly? Or
yeah, like it doesn't all have to be today. You'll get the money if you do what you'd rather not. It's coming. You'll get the body if you'll do what you'd rather not. You'll create relationships that are fulfilling if you'll do what you'd rather not do. Drop the drugs, drop the alcohol, get clean. And for some people at 25, it'd be the food, it would be the sex addiction, it would be the spending addiction, whatever it is. For me, it was the substances. And then the second thing is take a big breath. If you're doing what you'd rather not do, it's coming. It ain't coming on your timeline, but it's coming.
Yeah. Got it. That's big. That's really big. And now, what would you say is your philosophy on life and success?
Wow. Andrew, you're going
deep
really
questions. Deep. Yeah.
This is actually beautiful. People don't normally go here. The purpose of life is to improve. If there's one purpose in life, it's simply to improve. Now, that might sound self-centered, but remember this. Every time you and I improve, we help those around us to see what's possible. So as we improve, and it might be changing philosophies, we may improve and go, oh my gosh, I'm not going to eat meat anymore because of the meat industry. Well, that awakening within inside us by improving our life is going to touch people around us. When we improve, everyone around us benefits. Now, the people around us may not recognize it as beneficial because we might be rocking the boat. If you have some listeners that decide they're going to quit drinking tomorrow, they may have friends or partners or family members that aren't all that happy. If we have people that are listening right now and they decide to drop out of the rat race and to follow a dream, improving your life doesn't mean everyone is going to agree, but eventually people will honor your strength, your vulnerability, and your passion for living. So I'd say the number one purpose of life is to improve. As you improve, you give other people around you the chance to improve as well.
Yeah. I like that. Really good. Really bringing that to life here. And what's now exciting you today, David? What's getting you out of bed in the morning?
Well, the opportunity, Andrew, that we work with, hundreds of people a month, one-on-one, is so powerful. Just before you, I'm helping a couple save their relationship. And before that, I was helping someone get off of alcohol. And before that, earlier today, we had someone who's never written a book, and they're excited about writing a book. So for me, every hour is a different client. Every hour is a different challenge. I love it. I'm passionate about it, number one. Number two, of course, with our book, Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, but this book will. The Myth of Positive Thinking, the Reality of Success. Because that became number one, we now have a new book coming out in a couple months called Got Focus, ? Like got milk, but it's called Got Focus. So, I'm excited now because we've got this new book coming out that's going to, again, take what we're talking about right now to an even deeper level. The opportunity to speak. I travel constantly speaking to groups. Sharing the message that you and I are sharing on this stage right now, Andrew, is so fulfilling. So, everything I'm doing is exciting. And you know what? I'm outrageously blessed, and I know it. But it's taken a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice to get to this space, and it's worth it.
Yeah, really good. A ton of great work coming out. And for all the listeners here, you can follow up with David Essel. Simply go to davidessel.com. That's ESSEL.com, davidessel.com. Also, you can get his latest book here, Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, but this book will. Simply just type in Positive Thinking Will Never Change into Amazon, and it pops right up, or simply Google David Essel. Or you can put that in Amazon too. Basically, just put his name in that thing that we always use, and you will get in contact with David and get a taste of all of his work here. David, thank you so much for your time, sharing your story, and being vulnerable here on the Knowledge for Men show.
Oh, Andrew, it was awesome. What you're doing is so powerful, getting people to speak with honesty and truth. Thanks for the stage, and keep rocking. Good luck with your team.
All right. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and millions of downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we're just getting started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes, because it really helps the podcast grow so we can impact even more men in the world who need this. Guys, this is all about living with purpose, where every day you only do things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. And always remember, love the life you have while creating the life of your dreams. Go to kfmfree.com to get a surprise bonus I've made for my listeners. Again, that's kfmfree.com for something that's changed my life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Also, check out my Amazon best-selling books that I've written for you to help you crush life at kfmauthor.com. Again, that's kfmauthor.com to see all the books I've created to help you break through in life. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, founder of KnowledgeForMen.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.